It's a pleasure to have me on. Thank you.
It is a pleasure to have you on. That is for sure. Okay, seriously, David and Sarah, I was showing them the video of your dive, and they were like, "Oh, cool!" And David comes up, he goes, "Why does his voice sound familiar?" I said, "That's Rabbi Singer," and he was like, "No way!" So now you're super Rabbi Singer to my kids.
Right.
That was kind of edgy, man. It was really neat seeing all that up close and personal from behind a screen somewhere instead of actually behind a mask, if you will.
You mean seeing a shark dive?
Yeah, I mean, you were down there with what, 50? I don't know, a lot of sharks.
I don't really know. You really couldn't count them. Sharks normally don't aggregate with those kind of numbers, but this was deliberately done, where fish blood was poured in the ocean before we went in, so that we had maybe, I don't really know the number of sharks that were there, and and then we dive and enjoy these spectacular creatures. And in fact, I'm not brave at all. It looks scary because people usually watch Jaws before they watch a film of me doing that. So it's like reading the Christian Bible before the Jewish Bible. And then what happens is you impose Jaws on the real world. So if you impose Hollywood, it's like people who watch the movie The Ten Commandments and then read the book of Exodus, so they're going, wait, the book of Exodus is all wrong. It doesn't agree with Charlton Heston. Well, the book is always better than the movie. So in this case, the real life world of underwater is that fish, marine life, always does the same thing. It's completely predictable. Unlike our prime minister, unlike many members of the Knesset, unlike some of the folks in the White House who we're never quite sure exactly what they're going to do next. Underwater, we don't have wackos. Sharks always do the same thing. In fact, all fish, shark is just a fish, respond to stimuli in exactly the same way. So, for example, there are people who care for lions and huge predators, bears, and then suddenly the bear just eats them up, or the lion just attacks them. That never happens underwater. Underwater, if you do A, you're always going to get B. So it's very predictable. Divers are not taking risks. You swimmers are really stupid. I'm kidding. I'm joking. But that's where the risk is. If the people who go swimming in the ocean, you have no equipment, you are relying on your requisite skills and strength, and you have no backup air. We go down with computers, with 12 liters of compressed air, a nice thick wetsuit to keep us warm, 2 regulators, a backup, everything. We got an octopus. We got it all going on. So there's nothing brave about diving. If you're not a diver and it intrigues you, try it. But once you're down there and you encounter the shark, you realize they have absolutely no interest in you. In fact, they're so not interested in us that we have to do weird things to get them to come close, like pour blood or pieces of... It's not necessarily always recommended to do this, but if you want to see a lot of sharks, that's the best way to do it. And the reason for that is the folks out in China who are just a couple of hour flight from where I am right now, and they're out finning sharks, nearly 200 million a year. They're destroying the oceans, and that's why we have to work really hard to get sharks to come in close to encounter these incredible creatures of Hashem, the wonders of the Almighty beneath the waves. So it's very relaxing. And I also love, it's the only sport I engage in. If I'm not diving, I'm studying. I don't play basketball or baseball or whatever. I don't do any of those things. But I love this sport because it's the only sport that, to be an excellent diver, what your goal is to do as little as possible, to work as little as possible, to see if you can get such a neutral buoyancy where you're exerting no energy and therefore using less air and then having more downtime. So it's actually the only sport I know of where the goal is to do as little as possible and just enjoy yourself in a weightless environment and gaze upon God's wonders. As it turns out, 25% of all the coral reefs in the world are right here in the Indonesia region where the Indian and Pacific Ocean meet. 25% of all the world's species of fish are here. And therefore, when you're down there, you're praising Hashem. And you know this, divers travel thousands of miles to go to the hot spots where where it is predictable that you'll encounter sharks. So, but once you're down there, you realize the shark has no interest in you at all. They know they know that you're not on their menu, and they want nothing to do with you. And they're actually not tricks, but they're methods that we use to try to appear less intimidating to sharks. Like, for example, you can dive and be standing vertically, right? So your head is up and your feet are down, right? Remember, you're in a weightless environment, so you're like an astronaut. But if you're vertical in front of a fish, so you look really big. I'm 6 feet tall, so you look, they say, wow, you're big. But if we want to get the shark to come closer, or any creature that is timid, and sharks are very, very timid, they're just really not interested in messing around with anyone. It's very odd. We actually dive completely as horizontal as possible. So really all the shark sees is your head, and you're trying to keep yourself looking as tiny as possible in the eyes of the shark so that the shark won't be as frightened. But sharks are like squirrels. They are very timid. They don't want to mess around with divers. And if you splash, if you move and flail your arms and hands, the sharks are going to leave. They're not going to stick around. Other creatures might, but generally marine life does not want anything to do with humans. So the more careful you are as a diver, the better your encounter is going to be. Anyways, that was the show. And let's take callers about diving. Anyways, that's it. There's nothing. I'm not brave. I would never get into a cage with a cockroach. This is just very predictable. This is no risk. Divers do not get attacked. It's the swimmers, the boogie board, the surfers. There's really almost no risk there either, considering there are less than 50 sharks attacks a year worldwide, and probably less than, 3-4 fatalities a year. But that's swimmers, surfers. They're taking the slight risk because they're partially submerged. So therefore, the shark could misidentify them and consider them and think that they confuse them with marine mammals that they actually do eat. A diver is completely submerged, so there's no refraction of light. There's nothing to distort our image. We're not swimming. That means diver we don't really move very much. So we don't do anything that remotely resembles what their food does. A distressed sea mammal, a sea lion, a distressed seal, a distressed fish flails its body. We don't. So therefore, we're just trying to get the shark to get close.
You know what? You're still a brave man. That's one thing I don't want close.
I'm really not. But if you want to make a comic after me, go ahead. But I'm really not. Get certified. Go down. You'll see it's because I am not brave at all that I dive. If I was brave, I would swim. If you're swimming, you're on the surface. There are jellyfish there. There are all kinds of weird things on the surface. You swimmers are dummies. Get down, right?
So it's safer to actually dive with the wetsuit.
Oh yeah, of course. Like for example, you could step on a stonefish. You could step on a sea urchin. Right. You're going down with a bare foot in the water. You could step on anything. I know it's down there, and you can really injure yourself. And the stonefish could possibly kill you. We've got boots on, and on top of the boot, we have a fin, which is thick. None of those the spines on these fish will ever penetrate that. The tentacles on a jellyfish will not penetrate a wetsuit. We are safe. We're the chickens. Divers are the chickens. The swimmers are the brave. The only thing is that the swimmers are generally dumb, meaning they are not aware of, in fact, all the stuff that's out there at the surface. Jellyfish, which are brainless animals with frequently poisonous tentacles, the swimmers are the ones who take the risk. And what happens if you run out of energy and just can't swim anymore? Like you have nothing. We got all the air we want. They actually have dive computers. I'm not kidding. if a diver is like decompressing and there's like a lot of time and you don't know what to do, I'm not going to get into what it's about, but they have to sort of stop and wait and off gas. They have video games on their dive computer where they can play Pac-Man, just waiting. I'm not kidding.
Oh, you're serious? Oh,
serious,
how funny.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
We generally do no decompression dives, but sometimes you go deep enough, we have to decompress, not just a safety stop, and you've got to stop for a while, and at a certain level, and off gas means get rid of your nitrogen. So you don't get the bends. Again, so sometimes you've got to wait there. This is not the typical dive. A typical dive is a no decompression dive. But if you have to decompress at, let's say, 50 feet, 60 feet down, and you've got to stay there for 20 minutes at that level, what are you going to do? Like, what are you going to do? Like, take out a TV and watch I Love Lucy? Well, you can't do that. So they actually have, on their dive computers, are actually Nintendo-like games, like video games. But normally we don't do that. Normally we don't. We do. We don't play video games. We're just watching the real thing, not in an aquarium, and it's God's wonders. And what happens is when you come out of the water, you go to your computer, you look up the species that you've encountered, you study it, you praise Hashem, and you learn about all the marvels, the wonders of Hashem. Morabu Masech Hashem, all of your wonders, all of your works, praise you. Yedu Hashem kol Masecha, all your works allow us that your name can be known. And that's really what diving is. It's about appreciating the wonders of Hashem, because let's face it, in Texas, in Kingsland, Texas, what do you have? A squirrel, a cockroach, and a dog. This is it. That's not enough.
So
squirrels are boring.
So you have been here. That's okay. Well, at least I know you know how to get
whatever.
Here, so
there's a dog, a cat. Oh, good about cockroach. Everybody got excited. We have thousands of species to enjoy.
Hey, you want to hear something real funny, real fast? In Chicago, they actually have cows at the zoo. In Chicago, Illinois, where it's cold. My wife told me that. I was like, that just doesn't even register in my brain at all. That's all you see in Texas.
No, there are people who know. It is important to have those cows there, because some people, you can laugh all you want, but some people do suffer from insomnia. And that's where you stand there and watch a cow until you pass out. No, I mean, it's better than taking Unisom. Better than Benadryl is watching cows.
Nothing like counting cows instead of counting sheep. I get it.